Did climate change bring down late Bronze Age civilizations? We're talking about, for example, the ancient Greeks. Marine archaeologists excavating the eastern Mediterranean, we're talking about the area of Greece, are learning how the Bronze Age Mycenaean, Egyptian, and Anatolian empires fell. Ramin Skiba writes, clutching a set of drills, scuba divers plunge into the bay near the Gulf of Corinth in central Greece. On the seafloor, they punch a 4.5-meter deep hole into history. The divers are expecting to find sediments, bits of coral, and fish bones, but they're hoping the core will reveal something more, evidence of the world of the ancient Mediterranean, and clues as to why multiple empires collapsed here more than 3,000 years ago. The divers are part of a scientific team excavating on land and underwater to investigate why a string of late Bronze Age civilizations toppled: the Mycenaean kingdom in Greece, the Hittite Empire in what is now Turkey, and the New Kingdom of Egypt. Each fell around the same time in the 12th century BC. That's around the time of the judges of ancient Israel and King David. So they, over the past year though, the team has drilled 9 cores, and this month they're looking to open the first of the set. Each core is like gold, says Thomas Levy, an anthropologist at the University of California, San Diego, and one of the leaders of the project. It's like a page of a book, an archive of paleo-environmental data. And Levy believes the cores may help explain how climate change contributed to the rapid downfall of the Mycenaean civilization. That's in the area of where we have Sparta. The scientists have been working on the project since July 2016, but with at least 6 months of field research and analysis to go, they've yet to really dig into what they've unearthed. But Levy and his colleagues have already made some tantalizing finds. Through sonar surveys, the scientists have located 2 ancient beaches now submerged beneath the Mediterranean. So obviously there must have been a lot of earth changes since then. They've also discovered an ancient burial site which suggests high-ranking Mycenaeans lived here in some kind of coastal village, and Levy hopes to find traces of local trade networks too. The project is an interdisciplinary effort, bringing together a mix of social and earth scientists, including marine archaeologists, geologists, paleobiologists, and historians. It's one of the handful of similar studies going on around the world, in which scientists are seeking to understand how people of the past learned to cope with climate change or failed to do so. Beverly Goodman, a marine geoarchaeologist at the University of Haifa in Israel, who's not involved in the project, has studied how climate change and natural disasters have affected ancient cultures around the world. Though such events are often destructive, she says they do not always lead to the civilization's end. And when you have an environmental change or disaster, slow or fast, some of what happens afterwards is a reflection of the state of the society at the time, she says. Some societies are resilient, some are not. For example, an ancient Minoan civilization, being, of course, that's in the island of Crete. This Minoan civilization primarily occupied the Greek island of Crete until disaster struck around 1645 BC. A volcano on nearby Santorini erupted, causing a massive tsunami, which historians believe wiped out the Minoan society of Crete. But archaeological evidence now suggests that Minoan suffered a more gradual decline. An eruption was only the final blow. Had they had a stronger state or social network, Goodman says, the Minoans may have responded effectively to the destruction caused by the tsunami and collectively recovered over time. Levy and historians of the period think nature may have also contributed to the Mycenaeans' demise. Rather than the sudden shock of the volcanic eruption, however, the Mycenaeans faced a gradual grind of natural climate change in the form of a widespread drought. Previous anthropologists found evidence that surface temperatures in the eastern Mediterranean Sea cooled rapidly around 1250 BC, which resulted in reduced rainfall and marked the beginning of the drought. The drought lasted at least 150 years, and possibly as long as 4 centuries in what is now Syria and Cyprus, but to date, the key pieces of the puzzle remain elusive. Over the next few years, researchers anticipate finding the answers to key questions: the extent of the drought and whether it triggered famine, and if it contributed to the spread of disease. And as I'm reading this, let's remember, I recently read the story of Joseph and his brothers. Remember, Joseph had various dreams, and he was one of the sons of Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob had 12 sons. One of them was Joseph, and his brother Benjamin. And Joseph was sold as a slave. He ended up in Egypt. Of course, none of us know what the final salvation plan of God is, but Joseph basically saved his brothers, who were the 12 tribes of Israel, because of the drought that the whole area of the Levant had. Israel, they didn't have food. All these countries were coming to Egypt to buy wheat. And Joseph foresaw this because God gave him his dream of the fat cows and the lean cows, remember? So, so the Bible does tell us that they had a very severe drought at that time. They didn't have agriculture, okay? Now, as they pore over the contents of the cores, Levy and collaborators will study the sediment layers for signs of flooding or drought, and the organic matter to understand the health of the sea, the presence of plant species and the fish that were available. The jackpot, says Levy, will be to uncover artifacts from ancient ports, which would reveal that the Mycenaeans lacked and needed to import, and what they exported. But climate woes were only one problem the Mycenaeans faced, says Eric Klein, an anthropologist and archaeologist at George Washington University in Washington, D.C., who was not involved in the project. Into your mix of famine, drought, and earthquakes, you've also got invaders. The sea people, we're talking about the Greeks from the Greek islands, the sea people, multiple groups that may have included the Philistines. Philistines, as we know, are from Crete. It's written in the Old Testament. So the sea people, multiple groups that may have included the Philistines and Homer's Danans, the tribe of Dan, repeatedly invaded the Mycenaeans. Little is known about them or where they came from, though they may have been environmental refugees, of course, abandoning land affected by the same drought the Mycenaeans were grappling with, says Klein. It was probably the sea people who cut the trade route, says Klein. That, to me, was the final straw, the death knell. Like other late Bronze Age Mediterranean civilizations, the Mycenaeans were not self-sufficient. They could not survive, and they could not get copper and tin they needed to make bronze. Remember, they were trading tin from? Where were they getting tin from? Yes, I heard somebody say Britain. Yes, the British Isles. They got tin from the British Isles. They would trade olives, raisins, dry fruits, figs, dates, ceramic pots, and they would get tin from the British Isles. So, and Saint Joseph of Arimathea, Jesus Christ's uncle, who also, first, of course, gave him the unused new tomb where Jesus Christ was buried, was actually a ship owner, and he had trades with the British Isles. He was bringing back tin. Now, so it's probable that the sea people who cut the trade routes, to me, says Klein, was the final straw, the death knell. Like other late Bronze Age Mediterranean civilizations, the Mycenaeans were not self-sufficient. They couldn't survive. They could not get the copper and tin they needed to make bronze. It's likely the drought played a role in the Mycenaeans' decline, but even if so, Bridget Buxton, an archaeologist at the University of Rhode Island, says we should be leery of oversimplifying history and focusing too closely on any one force. Buxton said, in this age of environmental awareness, climate change becomes the lens through which people today interpret the past. Levy agrees that the fall of the three Mediterranean civilizations is likely not solely attributable to climate change. My impression is that it will be multi-causal. I shy away from environmental determinism, and let's open the cores to see what they will tell us, he says. And this is on Hakai Magazine. Please leave your comments about this, and thank you for your support. This is by Ramin Skiba. And it's very nice to read the Old Testament. We get a lot of treasures from there. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.